Admiral Jisoo floated in the command center of the starship Eternal Harmony. Her blue energy form pulsed with worry as she watched the star maps. For 3,000 years, the Galactic Council had kept peace between 47 different alien races. But today, something was wrong. The silent sector sat at the edge of known space like a dark wound. No ship that went there ever came back. No signals ever came out. For as long as anyone could remember, that area of space had been empty and quiet. The Council had marked it as forbidden territory long ago. Jisoo belonged to the Nalari, a race of pure energy beings who could live forever if they wanted to. She had served the Council for 800 years. In all that time, she had never seen the other Council members look so afraid. "Admiral," called Taehyun, her second in command. His crystal body sparkled as he moved toward her. The Vorthak were made of living crystal that could think and feel. Taehyun had been her friend for 2 centuries. "The Council is ready for your report." Jisoo nodded and activated the communication array. Holographic images appeared around her. The Council members materialized one by one. There was Counselor Hiram of the Zephyrians, her insect-like body connected to the hive mind of her people. Next came Elder Minho of the ancient Mithril, his stone face showing no emotion. Dozens of other beings from across the galaxy joined the meeting. "Fellow Council members," Jisoo began, "our long-range sensors have detected something impossible in the silent sector." The Council chamber fell quiet. Even the Zephyrians stopped their constant mental chatter. "What kind of something?" asked Hiram. Her voice came from millions of minds speaking as one. "Radio waves," Jisoo said. "Primitive electromagnetic signals. But they're not random. They carry patterns. Complex patterns." Elder Minho leaned forward. His people had existed since the galaxy was young. They remembered things others had forgotten. "Are you saying there's life in the silent sector?" "Not just life," Jisoo replied. "Intelligence. A civilization that uses radio waves to communicate." The Council erupted in shocked whispers. Radio waves were ancient technology. Most races had stopped using them millions of years ago when they learned to speak mind to mind or through energy fields. "How is this possible?" demanded Counselor Yuna of the hegemony. Her mechanical body clicked and whirred as she spoke. "Our ancestors explored that sector eons ago. It was empty." Jisoo activated a recording device. Strange sounds filled the chamber. They were unlike anything the Council had ever heard. There were voices speaking in rapid, choppy patterns. There was music that followed no mathematical rules. There were sounds that seemed to serve no purpose at all. "We've been monitoring these transmissions for 6 months, Jisoo explained. "The beings call themselves humans. They live on a planet they call Earth." "Humans," repeated Hiram slowly. "The word is unknown to us," Taehyun stepped forward. "Admiral, should I tell them about the weapons?" The Council members looked at each other nervously. Jisoo nodded grimly. "The humans possess nuclear weapons," she announced. "Devices capable of destroying entire cities. They've used them against their own kind." The chamber fell silent. Nuclear weapons were considered barbaric by galactic standards. Most races had abandoned such crude tools millions of years ago, long before they achieved space travel. "They fight wars against each other?" asked Elder Minho. "Impossible. No species can develop space technology while still waging war on itself." "That's what we thought too," Jisoo said. "But the humans have proved us wrong. They've built spacecraft. Primitive ones, but functional. They've even landed on their planet's moon." She activated another display. Images of human technology appeared in the air. The Council members stared in disbelief. The human machines were crude and inefficient. They burned chemical fuel and moved slowly through space. Yet somehow they worked. "This makes no sense," muttered Counselor Jihoon of the technocracy. His cybernetic implants glowed as he processed the data. "Look at these designs. They're wasteful, dangerous, and illogical. How did they even reach orbit?" "That's not the strangest part," Jisoo continued. "According to our calculations, human civilization is less than 10,000 years old. They went from stone tools to space travel in the blink of an eye." The Council members looked at each other in amazement. The Vorthak had taken 50 million years to develop spaceflight. The Nalari had needed even longer. 10,000 years was impossibly fast. "There must be an error," said Hiram. "No species develops that quickly." Jisoo shook her head. "We've checked the data 100 times. The humans are real, and they're advancing faster than should be possible." Elder Minho stood up slowly. His ancient voice carried weight that made everyone listen. In the old texts of my people, there are legends about the silent sector. We called it the sleeping storm. The stories say something dangerous sleeps there, something that will one day wake up and change everything. You think the humans are this sleeping storm? Asked Yuna. I think, Minho said carefully, that we're about to find out. Suddenly, alarms began ringing throughout the eternal harmony. Taehyun rushed to his console, his crystal body flashing with urgency. Admiral, he called out. Long-range sensors are detecting movement in the silent sector, multiple objects approaching our border. Jisoo's energy form flickered with surprise. Objects? What kind of objects? Spacecraft, Taehyun replied, his voice full of disbelief. Human spacecraft. They're moving faster than our projections said they could. Admiral, they'll reach the sector boundary in less than 72 hours. The council chamber erupted in panic. Some members demanded immediate military action. Others called for evacuation of nearby systems. The Zephyrian's hive mind buzzed with millions of conflicting thoughts. Silence. Elder Minho's voice cut through the chaos. We must decide quickly. Do we meet these humans with open hands or closed fists? Jisoo looked at the star maps again. Red dots marked the approaching human ships. They were small compared to galactic vessels, but they moved with purpose and determination. For the first time in 3,000 years, an unknown force was approaching council space. We follow first contact protocols, she decided, but we prepare for anything. These humans have already broken every rule we know about how civilizations develop. We can't predict what they'll do next. The council members nodded in agreement, though fear was clear in their alien faces. They had governed the galaxy for millennia, confident in their understanding of how intelligent life worked. Now creatures from the silent sector were coming to challenge everything they believed. As the meeting ended and the holograms faded away, Jisoo stared out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the humans were racing toward galactic space in their primitive ships. They didn't know about the council, the 47 civilizations, or the careful balance of power that kept peace in the galaxy. But soon, very soon, they would arrive. And when they did, nothing would ever be the same again. The galaxy had been silent about the humans for millions of years. That silence was about to end. Dr. Seokjin hovered over his research station, all 6 of his arms working at different tasks. As the galaxy's leading expert on new species, the Zephyrian scientist had studied the development of dozens of civilizations, but the humans confused him completely. This data cannot be correct, he muttered to himself, his insect-like head tilting as he reviewed the information again. The other scientists in the research station worked quietly around him, but everyone was focused on the same puzzle. Seokjin's assistant, a young Nilari named Sunwoo, materialized beside him. Doctor, the new transmission recordings are ready. Play them, Seokjin ordered. The sounds that filled the laboratory made several researchers stop their work. Human voices spoke in rapid emotional bursts. There was laughter, crying, shouting, and singing. But strangest of all was the music. It followed no logical patterns. It had no mathematical structure, yet somehow it was beautiful. I don't understand it, said Dr. Yoonji, a Vorthak crystal being who specialized in communication patterns. This music serves no purpose. It doesn't carry information or coordinate group activities. Why do they make it? Seokjin pulled up holographic displays showing human brain scans that their long-range sensors had captured. Look at this. When humans hear music, their brains light up in ways we've never seen before. Areas that control emotion, memory, and creativity all activate at once. Emotion? Sunwoo's energy form flickered with confusion. But emotions are inefficient. The Galactic Council proved that millions of years ago. Logical thinking is always superior. That's what we believed, Seokjin agreed. But humans seem to use emotion as a tool. Watch this recording. A new hologram appeared. It showed human soldiers in battle, fighting against impossible odds. Instead of retreating when logic said they should, they continued fighting. They risked their lives to save strangers. They made decisions that no computer could calculate. See how they behave, Seokjin pointed out. When faced with certain death, they don't surrender. They get angry. They get determined. These emotions make them stronger, not weaker. Dr. Yoonji's crystal body dimmed with worry. This is disturbing. Emotional decision-making leads to chaos and conflict. How can their civilization function? Seokjin activated another display. This one showed human cities, full of millions of individuals all living together. That's the mystery. They do fight constantly, wars, arguments, competition, but they also cooperate in ways that shouldn't be possible. The hologram showed humans working together to build massive structures, to explore dangerous places, and to care for their sick and elderly. It showed them creating art, telling stories, and playing games that served no survival purpose. I've identified over 1,200 different human languages, Seokjin continued. They can't even agree on how to communicate with each other. Yet somehow they've built a global civilization. Young Sunwoo drifted closer to examine the data. Doctor, look at this pattern. Human children spend years learning to function independently. Most galactic species are born with instinctive knowledge, but human children must be taught everything. Yes, Seokjin nodded. And during those learning years, they engage in play behavior. They pretend, they imagine, they create stories that aren't real. It seems wasteful, but it's actually training their brains to think in flexible ways. Dr. Yoonji pulsed with confusion. Flexible thinking is dangerous. It leads to unpredictable actions. Exactly, Seokjin said. Humans are unpredictable. In any given situation, they might choose from dozens of different responses. A galactic species would analyze the data and select the most logical option. Humans might choose based on emotion, intuition, or even random chance. The laboratory fell quiet as the scientists processed this information. Unpredictability was considered a flaw by galactic standards. Civilized beings were supposed to be reliable and logical. Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the research station. Seokjin's communication device activated, and Admiral Jisu's image appeared. Dr. Seokjin, we need your team's analysis immediately. The human ships have crossed into our sensor range and we're picking up their communications. What kind of communications? Seokjin asked. They're talking to each other, Jisu replied, but not in any way we understand. They seem to be arguing about what to do next, but they're also joking and laughing. It's like they're not taking this seriously. Seokjin activated his analysis equipment. Patch the transmission through to us. Human voices filled the laboratory. The scientists listened in amazement as the humans discussed their approach to alien contact. But instead of careful planning and logical protocols, the humans seemed to be making it up as they went along. Did you hear that? Sunwoo whispered. One of them just suggested they wing it when they meet us. What does that mean? Seokjin translated quickly. It means they plan to improvise, to make decisions without a predetermined plan. Dr. Yoonji's crystal body flashed with alarm. That's madness. First contact is the most important moment in any civilization's history. It requires careful preparation and exact protocols. Not for humans, Seokjin realized. Listen to them. They're excited about the unknown. They're actually looking forward to surprises. The transmission continued, and the scientist heard something that shocked them even more. The humans were singing. In the middle of their approach to the most significant event in their species' history, they were making music together. This changes everything, Seokjin announced to his team. We've been preparing for contact with a logical, predictable species. But humans are neither logical nor predictable. What do we do? Asked Sunwoo. Seokjin was quiet for a long moment, processing the implications. Every first contact protocol the Council had developed assumed that new species would follow certain patterns. They would be cautious, respectful, and eager to learn from more advanced civilizations. But humans didn't seem to follow any patterns at all. We need to warn the Council, he decided. These humans are unlike anything we've encountered. They make decisions based on feelings instead of facts. They create things for beauty instead of function. They take risks that no logical being would consider. Are they dangerous? Dr. Yoonji asked. Seokjin looked at the data again. Humans fought wars, but they also created magnificent art. They could be violent, but they also showed incredible kindness. They were chaotic, but they had achieved spaceflight in record time. I don't know, he admitted. They're capable of great destruction, but also great creation. They're competitive, but also cooperative. They're primitive, but also advanced. They contradict themselves constantly. Another message came from Admiral Jisu. Doctor, the human ships will arrive at the meeting point in 18 hours. The Council needs your recommendations for contact protocols. Seokjin looked at his team. Every piece of data they had collected told them the same thing. Humans were impossible to predict or control. They operated by rules that no other galactic species followed. Tell the Council to prepare for anything, he finally replied. These humans have already broken every law of civilized development. There's no telling what they'll do when they meet us. As the research station continued its work, Seokjin couldn't shake a strange feeling. For the first time in his long career, he was genuinely curious about what would happen next. The humans had done something he thought was impossible. They had surprised him. In a galaxy where everything followed predictable patterns, the humans were completely unpredictable. And somehow that made them the most interesting species he had ever studied. The question was, would the rest of the galaxy feel the same way? Captain Woojin stared through the viewport of the UES Discovery at the impossible sight before him. Massive alien ships surrounded his small vessel, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. Their designs were elegant and smooth, clearly created by minds that understood technologies humans could barely imagine. "Captain," called Chief Engineer Minji from her station, "I'm reading energy signatures that shouldn't be possible. Some of these ships are generating power levels equivalent to our entire global output." Woojin nodded grimly. When Earth's deep space telescopes had detected artificial structures at the edge of their solar system, humanity had prepared for this moment for 3 years. The Discovery was their best ship, carrying their best crew. But looking at the alien fleet now, Woojin felt like a child with a paper airplane approaching a squadron of jets. "Any response to our signals?" he asked Navigation Officer Hyunwoo. "Nothing on radio, Captain. We've tried every frequency, every protocol we know. It's like they don't even use electromagnetic communication." Dr. Sujin, the ship's xenobiologist, looked up from her console. "Captain, I'm detecting some kind of energy patterns coming from the alien ships. Complex patterns, but nothing our computers can decode." Woojin made a decision. "Open a channel on all frequencies. Let's try basic mathematics." Hyunwoo activated the communication array. Woojin spoke slowly and clearly. "This is Captain Woojin of the Earth ship Discovery. 1 + 1 = 2. 2 + 2 = 4. We come in peace. For several minutes, nothing happened. The alien ships remained perfectly still, their lights pulsing in patterns that meant nothing to human eyes. Then suddenly, every human on the bridge cried out in pain. A massive wave of information crashed into their minds, carrying concepts and images that human brains weren't designed to process. Woojin felt like someone was trying to pour an ocean into a teacup. "Cut the channel," he shouted. But the pain continued for several more seconds before finally stopping. Dr. Sujin was the first to recover. "They tried to communicate directly with our minds," she gasped. "But human brains can't handle that kind of input. We're not telepathic." "Are you saying they expected us to be telepathic?" Minji asked, rubbing her temples. "More than that," Sujin replied, studying her readings. "I think telepathy is normal for them. They probably can't understand how we communicate at all." Woojin considered their options. They were billions of miles from Earth, surrounded by beings so advanced that their communication methods could kill humans accidentally. But giving up wasn't in his nature. "All right," he said. "If they can't understand our words, maybe they can understand our intentions. Minji, prepare to broadcast everything we have about human culture. Art, music, literature, science, everything." "Captain, that's terabytes of data," Minji warned. "It'll take hours to transmit. Then we'd better get started." As the Discovery began broadcasting human culture into space, something unexpected happened. Minji had been working on a difficult engineering problem, and she often listened to music while she worked. Without thinking, she patched her personal music player into the transmission system. The alien fleet's response was immediate and dramatic. Every ship suddenly stopped moving. Their lights changed from steady pulses to rapid, chaotic flashing. Energy readings spiked across the spectrum. "What's happening?" Woojin demanded. "I don't know," Hyunwoo replied, checking his instruments frantically. "It's like they've all shut down." Dr. Sujin was studying the alien fleet through her telescopes. "Captain, I think they're listening. Really listening. Look at their formation. They've arranged themselves like an amphitheater, all focused on us." The music Minji had accidentally broadcast was a piece by Beethoven, followed by traditional Korean folk songs, then jazz, rock, and classical pieces from around the world. As each new style played, the alien lights flashed in different patterns. They've never heard music before, Sujin realized. At least not music like this. What the humans didn't know was that their accidental broadcast was causing chaos throughout the galactic fleet. Admiral Jisoo found herself experiencing something she had never felt before: pure, inexplicable emotion triggered by organized sound waves. The human music bypassed every logical filter the galactic species had developed. It spoke directly to something deeper, something they had forgotten existed. For the first time in millions of years, beings across the galaxy were feeling without thinking. Captain Wu Jin watched the alien ships with growing amazement. Their rigid formations were breaking apart. Ships that had maintained perfect military precision were now moving and flowing. Artistic patterns that seemed to dance with the music. "Captain," Hyunwoo said quietly, "I think we just changed everything." A new signal came from the alien fleet. This time, instead of the overwhelming mental assault, it was a gentle pattern of lights and simple mathematical sequences. The aliens were trying to communicate in a way humans could understand. Dr. Sujin worked quickly to decode the message. "They're asking for more," she announced. "They want to hear more music," Wu Jin smiled. Humanity's first contact with alien intelligence wasn't happening through advanced science or careful diplomacy. It was happening through a universal language they hadn't even known was universal. Music. "Give them everything we have," he ordered. Bach, Mozart, traditional songs from every culture on Earth. Modern pop, electronic music, everything. As the Discovery continued broadcasting, the alien fleet's behavior became even more extraordinary. Ships began moving in complex choreographed patterns. Their lights pulsed in rhythm with the music. Some ships even started producing their own sounds, harmonic tones that blended with the human music to create something entirely new. "They're improvising," Minji whispered in amazement. "They're making music with us." Hours passed as the cosmic concert continued. Gradually, more conventional communication began to develop. The aliens used mathematical concepts illustrated with musical tones. Humans responded with simple melodies that conveyed basic ideas. By the time the sun appeared on Earth's horizon, billions of miles away, first contact had been achieved. Not through careful protocols or advanced technology, but through the accidental sharing of human creativity. Dr. Sujin was the first to establish crude two-way communication. Using a combination of music, mathematics, and simple pictures, she managed to convey basic concepts. The aliens responded with their own information, shared through energy patterns that human computers could barely translate. "Captain," she reported, "I think I understand what happened. These beings have evolved beyond individual emotional expression. They think as groups or as pure logic systems. Our music was completely alien to them. But they liked it," Hyunwoo observed, watching the alien ships continue their graceful dance. "More than liked it," Sujin replied. "I think it reminded them of something they lost long ago, something they didn't even know they were missing." Wu Jin looked out at the alien fleet, now moving in beautiful patterns around his small ship. Humanity had entered the galactic community not as supplicants seeking knowledge, but as teachers sharing something precious. "Send a message to Earth," he instructed. "Tell them we've made contact. Tell them the galaxy was waiting for us, even if they didn't know it." As the Discovery continued its historic mission, Captain Wu Jin realized that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their intelligence. It was their ability to create beauty from chaos, to express feelings that had no logical purpose, and to share that gift with others. The galaxy had fallen silent when humans arrived, but not from fear. It had fallen silent from wonder, hearing something it had forgotten how to create. The sound of pure, individual emotional expression. The music was just the beginning. 3 months had passed since first contact, and Dr. Sujin found herself in the most unusual classroom in galactic history. The converted cargo bay of the Discovery now hosted daily meetings between humans and aliens, with translation systems that worked better each day. Today's lesson was about human concepts that simply didn't exist in galactic civilization. Sujin stood before a mixed group of alien representatives, each one struggling to understand ideas that seemed impossible to their logical minds. "Today we discuss sacrifice," Sujin announced, activating a holographic display. "This means giving up something important for someone else's benefit, even when there's no logical reason to do so." Elder Minho of the Mithril leaned forward, his ancient stone face showing confusion. "Explain this concept. Why would any intelligent being act against their own interests?" Sujin showed them recordings from human history. Soldiers throwing themselves on grenades to save their comrades, Parents working multiple jobs to send their children to school. Doctors risking their lives to treat diseases in distant countries. These actions serve no evolutionary purpose, observed Counselor Hyerim, her insect-like form clicking nervously. The individuals gain nothing and often lose everything. That's exactly the point, Sujin explained. Humans don't always act for personal gain. Sometimes they act because it feels right, even when it's not logical. The aliens looked at each other with expressions that roughly translated as bewilderment. Dr. Seokjin, the Zephyrian scientist, had been studying human behavior for months and still couldn't understand it. But feelings are unreliable, he protested. They lead to poor decisions and inefficient outcomes. Sujin smiled and activated another display. Let me show you how human feelings actually work in practice. The recording showed a human emergency response team dealing with a natural disaster. While Galactic Protocol would have called for careful analysis and planned action, the humans were already moving. They made rapid decisions based on incomplete information, coordinated through emotional bonds rather than logical hierarchy, and achieved results that impressed even advanced alien observers. Watch how they work together, Sujin pointed out. No central command structure. No predetermined plan. They're responding to the situation as it develops, using intuition and empathy to guide their actions. Captain Woojin entered the cargo bay just as Sujin was explaining the concept of hope, the human ability to believe in positive outcomes even when evidence suggested otherwise. He carried a data pad with the latest reports from the ongoing cultural exchange. How are our students doing, Doctor? He asked. They're struggling with the concept of individual creativity, Sujin replied. The idea that humans create art for personal expression rather than logical purpose seems to break their mental frameworks. Wu Jin looked at the assembled aliens. Some were energy beings, others made of crystal or metal. A few looked almost human, while others defied description. But all of them showed the same expression of confused fascination. Perhaps, Wu Jin suggested, we should show them rather than tell them. He activated his personal communication device and called Chief Engineer Minji to the cargo bay. When she arrived, he asked her to demonstrate human problem-solving in real time. Minji, we need to repair the main communication array, but we don't have the right parts. Using galactic technology, this problem is impossible to solve. Show our friends how humans approach impossible problems. Minji grinned and examined the technical specifications on Wu Jin's datapad. The galactic observers watched as she considered the problem, not through careful analysis, but through what humans called creative thinking. Well, she said, if we can't fix it the right way, we'll fix it the wrong way that works. What happened next amazed the alien observers. Minji began combining technologies that were never meant to work together. She used parts from the food synthesizer, components from the navigation system, and even repurposed materials from the crew's personal belongings. Her approach violated every principle of galactic engineering. She ignored safety protocols, mixed incompatible systems, and relied on intuition rather than calculation. The aliens watched in horror as she essentially rebuilt the communication array from scratch, using methods that should have failed catastrophically. But it worked. Not only did it worked better than the original design. How? Dr. Seokjin asked, his 6 arms gesturing frantically at the jury-rigged device. This configuration should be impossible. The quantum harmonics alone should cause system failure. Minji shrugged. Sometimes impossible things work anyway. You just have to be willing to try. The aliens spent the next hour examining Minji's creation, running calculations that confirmed it shouldn't function. Yet there it was, operating perfectly and transmitting signals across space. Dr. Sujin used this as a teaching moment. This is why humans are different. We don't just accept what's supposed to be possible. We experiment, we take risks, and sometimes we discover that the impossible is actually just improbable. Navigation Officer Hyunwoo arrived with news that would test this philosophy in an unexpected way. Captain, we've got a problem. Long-range sensors are detecting a pirate fleet moving toward our position. 12 ships, all armed with military-grade weapons. The alien representatives immediately began discussing evacuation procedures and diplomatic solutions. Standard galactic protocol called for retreat in the face of superior force, followed by formal complaints through proper channels. But Captain Wu Jin was already thinking differently. How long until they arrive? 6 hours, Captain. Wu Jin looked at the alien fleet surrounding them. Dozens of ships, each one vastly more powerful than any pirate vessel. "Why aren't you preparing for battle?" he asked Admiral Jisoo, who had just materialized as a hologram. "Battle?" Jisoo's energy form flickered with confusion. "We don't fight pirates. We negotiate with them or withdraw to safer areas. Violence is inefficient. And that's exactly why they'll expect you to run," Wu Jin realized. "They've been raiding galactic space for years because they know you won't fight back." He turned to his crew. "How do you feel about showing our new friends how humans handle bullies?" Minji grinned. "Sounds like fun, Captain." Yunwoo checked his weapon systems. "We've got one missile launcher and a laser that's designed for asteroid mining. Against 12 pirate ships, that's not much." "That's okay," Wu Jin replied. "We're not going to fight them with superior firepower. We're going to fight them with superior unpredictability." What followed was a masterclass in human tactical thinking. Instead of following established military doctrine, Wu Jin devised a plan that no galactic computer could have calculated, because it relied entirely on psychological warfare and creative improvisation. Humans used their mining laser to carve symbols into nearby asteroids, symbols that looked like territorial markers of a fictional warrior race. They broadcast false radio signals suggesting they were advanced scouts for a massive human fleet. Most importantly, they convinced the galactic ships to participate in a deception that violated every principle of civilized behavior. When the pirates arrived, they found what appeared to be a heavily defended alien stronghold. The galactic ships, following Wu Jin's guidance, moved in aggressive patterns and broadcast threatening messages that made no logical sense but sounded intimidating. The pirates, faced with an inexplicable tactical situation, made the same mistake the galaxy had been making for millennia. They tried to apply logic to human behavior. The result was a complete victory achieved without firing a single shot. The pirates retreated in confusion, convinced they had stumbled into a trap they couldn't understand. As the last pirate ship disappeared from sensors, the galactic representatives sat in stunned silence. They had just witnessed humans solve an impossible problem through methods that violated every principle of civilized warfare. "That shouldn't have worked," Elder Minho said finally. "But it did," Captain Wu Jin replied, "because sometimes the best solution isn't the logical one. Sometimes you have to be willing to try something that makes no sense." Dr. Sujin looked at her alien students. For the first time since the cultural exchange began, she saw something new in their expressions: understanding. They were beginning to realize that humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy wasn't their technology or their knowledge. It was their willingness to attempt the impossible, to create beauty from chaos, and to succeed through methods that logic said should fail. The galaxy had spent millions of years perfecting the art of logical thinking, but they had forgotten something equally important. Sometimes logic isn't enough. Sometimes you need a little bit of beautiful, impossible human chaos. 1 year after first contact, the Galactic Assembly had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The Great Hall that had once echoed with formal debates and logical discussions now buzzed with something unprecedented: creative chaos. Ambassador Ji Young stood at the speaker's podium, representing humanity for the first time in galactic history. Around her, representatives from 47 different alien civilizations waited to hear what the newest member of their community had to say. But this wasn't the same assembly that had existed before humans arrived. The rigid seating arrangements had been replaced with flexible groupings that encouraged interaction. The formal debate procedures had been modified to allow for something humans called brainstorming, the wild sharing of ideas without immediate judgment. Most remarkably, the assembly now began each session with 5 minutes of silence. Not the empty silence of before, but what humans had taught them to call listening silence, a time to be open to unexpected ideas. Honored representatives, Ji Young began. 1 year ago, humanity entered galactic civilization as strangers. Today, I stand before you as proof that different ways of thinking can work together to create something better than either could achieve alone. In the audience, Admiral Jisoo nodded approvingly. The Nalari energy being had become humanity's closest ally, fascinated by the way humans could make emotional decisions that turned out to be strategically brilliant. Her own people had begun experimenting with intuitive choices, and the results had surprised everyone. Dr. Seokjin clicked his agreement from his seat among the Zephyrian delegation. His latest research showed that exposure to human creativity had improved problem-solving abilities across multiple galactic species. The hive mind of his people, once perfectly coordinated but predictable, now included random elements that made them more adaptable. This year has taught us all valuable lessons, Ji-young continued. We've learned that chaos and order can coexist. We've learned that emotion and logic can work together. Most importantly, we've learned that the galaxy is stronger when it includes different ways of thinking. She activated a holographic display showing statistics that would have seemed impossible a year ago. Galactic productivity had increased by 30%. Scientific discoveries had doubled. Art and culture, previously stagnant for millennia, were experiencing a renaissance. But the most remarkable change was in how the galaxy handled problems. The latest crisis had demonstrated this perfectly. 3 months earlier, a massive solar storm had threatened to destroy the inhabited planets in the Kepler system. Traditional galactic response would have involved careful evacuation procedures and the resignation that some worlds would be lost. Instead, humanity had proposed an impossible solution. Use the galactic fleet to create an artificial magnetic field large enough to shield an entire solar system. The physics said it couldn't work. The logistics said it was too complex. Every computer model said it would fail. But Chief Engineer Minji had insisted it was possible if they stopped trying to make it perfect and focused on making it work. Working with alien engineers who had learned to think creatively, she had developed a solution that violated several laws of physics, but somehow functioned anyway. The Kepler system had been saved, and the galaxy had learned that sometimes impossible was just another word for hasn't been tried yet. Today, Ji-young announced to the assembly, I want to propose something new, something that combines human creativity with galactic wisdom. She activated another display, this one showing a detailed plan that had been months in development. We propose the creation of mixed teams, groups that combine human unpredictability with alien expertise to tackle the galaxy's biggest challenges. The response was immediate and enthusiastic. Elder Minho of the Mithril stood slowly, his ancient voice carrying approval. The humans have shown us that our old ways, while valuable, were incomplete. This proposal honors both tradition and innovation. Counselor Hiriam's hive mind buzzed with excited chatter. Our collective intelligence has been enhanced by incorporating individual creativity. We support this proposal. But the most surprising support came from an unexpected source. Counselor Dahyun of the Technocracy, a cybernetic race that had always valued pure logic above all else, rose to address the assembly. 1 year ago, we would have rejected human methods as inefficient and chaotic, she admitted, but we have learned that efficiency without creativity leads to stagnation. Our people have begun incorporating random elements into our decision-making processes. The results have been illuminating. As the vote proceeded, Ji-young thought about how much had changed. Captain Woojin was now commanding a joint human-alien exploration vessel, pushing the boundaries of known space with a crew that combined species in ways that had never been tried before. Dr. Sujin had established the first interspecies university, where humans and aliens learned from each other's completely different approaches to understanding the universe. Navigation Officer Hyunwoo had perhaps made the most unexpected contribution. His casual comment during a crisis, and back home, we'd call this Tuesday, had become a galactic phrase, meaning stay calm in chaos. Alien species across the galaxy now used human expressions to describe their willingness to attempt the impossible. The vote was unanimous. The mixed team's proposal passed with the strongest support in assembly history. But the real celebration came after the formal session ended. As representatives mingled in the Great Hall, something remarkable happened. The careful protocol that had governed galactic interactions for millennia gave way to something unprecedented. A party. Music filled the hall, not just human music, but new compositions that blended human emotional expression with alien mathematical harmonies. The result was beautiful in ways that neither species could have achieved alone. Dr. Seokjin found himself laughing, an emotion his people had considered inefficient until humans taught them its value. Admiral Jisoo discovered that she enjoyed the unpredictability of human conversation, never knowing what unexpected insight might emerge. Elder Minho, the oldest being in the galaxy, sat with a group of young humans and aliens, listening to them plan impossible projects with the enthusiasm that only comes from believing that impossible things might work anyway. As the celebration continued, Ji-young stepped onto a balcony overlooking the galactic capital. The city below twinkled with lights from dozens of different civilizations, but now those lights moved in new patterns. Rigid, efficient designs had given way to flowing artistic arrangements that served beauty as well as function. Captain Wu Jin joined her on the balcony, having arrived just in time for the vote. "So how did we do, Ambassador?" "We changed everything," she replied. "But more importantly, we helped the galaxy remember how to change itself." They watched as alien children played in the plaza below, engaging in games that combined logic with imagination. A year ago, such activities would have been considered wasteful. Now they were recognized as essential training for minds that needed to be both analytical and creative. "You know what the best part is?" Wu Jin asked. "What's that?" "We're not done yet. This is just the beginning." As if to prove his point, a message arrived from the edge of galactic space. The joint exploration vessels had discovered something new, evidence of another isolated species developing in ways that defied all known patterns. Ji-young smiled. A year ago, the galaxy would have approached such a discovery with caution and rigid protocols. Now they would approach it with curiosity and wonder, ready to learn whatever impossible lessons this new species might teach. The galaxy had fallen silent when humans first appeared, overwhelmed by the sound of something they had forgotten, individual voices singing their own unique songs. Now those voices had joined the galactic chorus, creating a symphony that was both harmonious and chaotic, logical and emotional, impossible and beautiful. In the plaza below, representatives from 48 different civilizations worked, played, and dreamed together. They built things that shouldn't work but did. They solved problems that had no logical solutions. They created beauty for no reason other than the joy of creation. The silence was broken. The galaxy had learned to sing again, and somewhere in the vast cosmos other voices waited to be discovered, ready to add their own impossible melodies to the growing song of civilizations that had learned that unity didn't require uniformity, and that the best solutions often came from the most unlikely sources. The humans had arrived and everything had changed. But as Ji-young looked out at the transformed galaxy, she knew this was exactly as it should be. After all, humans had always been good at making impossible things work anyway.